Hi, Heidi Christensen from the Genius Paradigm here. Several years ago, when I was a vendor and speaker at the Great Homeschool Convention in California, I was wandering around the vendor hall while everybody was getting set up, and I saw a friend that had tutored my oldest son early on in my homeschooling journey. I hadn't seen her for at least 10 years and was expecting a really warm welcome. Imagine my surprise when she greeted me with, "No one told me about 17." She had twin boys, about just a couple years younger than my twins, and she had just gone through one of the hardest years of her life. I wish I would have known. I would have had my mom talk to her. My mom's genius is kids. She just gets them and sees patterns in their behavior. She comes from a big family, and she had a big family. I'm the oldest of 6 kids. She also did childcare for years, and she now has almost 30 grandkids. And all the kids in our homeschool community call her Nana. And all of my friends and the women in our community go to her for advice when they're having challenges with their kids. One of the first things she asks someone who comes to her is how old the kid in question is. Most often, they're close to the ages of 3, 13, or 17. I've heard her give her talk to these parents countless times, and I wish she had been there for my friend. To hopefully save you from the same problems my friend had, here's what my mom shares with people. All of these ages are transition ages. At 3, toddlers are transitioning to being kids. At 13, they're moving from being a kid to a teenager. And at 17, they're moving into adulthood. And there are challenges with each transition. At 3, everyone says, it's the terrible twos, but it might start then, but I always found that the 3s were more challenging. You can have a kid just, staring right at you and do things that you tell them not to do. And they understand what you're saying to them, but they're still not going to do what you ask them to do. That they might also 1 minute decide they want to be a big kid and the next dissolve into a tantrum in the middle of a grocery store. It can be really hard to deal with, but it makes it a little bit easier when you understand what they're going through. Try and put yourself in their shoes. They feel this strange pull to do things differently and take risks. The big people around them are asking them to do things they aren't sure about and they may or may not want to do. For a person with limited vocabulary skills, this can be really hard. Thus, the tantrums. It isn't personal, it's just their way of dealing with being overwhelmed with change. Much harder to deal with is the 13-year-old who suddenly starts acting like a 3-year-old, tantrums and all. And as my friend found out, it's even harder when they do the same thing at 17. I've worked with several students and their families who go through these stages and don't know what to do. In many cases, the parents take it personally. It's not. It helps everyone if they understand what's going on. Just as a 3-year-old needs help transitioning from being a baby to a child, our teens need help with these transitions too. To help a 3-year-old, you can tell them they're growing to be a big kid, but they can take a break and be a baby whenever being a big kid gets too hard. You can teach them how to pick out and put on their own clothes, buckle their seatbelt, and do little chores around the house, all while praising them for learning how to be a big kid. And when they get overwhelmed, you take them in your arms, cuddle them, and let them take a nap. As a child moves into their teen years, it can be just as scary for them as it was at 3. They don't know what's expected of them, and they feel this pull to be their own person. But this means pushing away from you, their parent. Add to this the raging hormones, and it just gets crazy. It's amazing we all survive as the kids or the parents. But the trick is to go back to see how we helped them at 3. We taught them it was normal to feel the way they were feeling. At this age, 13, we can give them grace to not have the teen responsibilities every once in a while, when they're becoming overwhelmed. We can also give them the tools to move on to this next stage. So many parents take responsibility away from their kids when they're at this age because it seems like they can't be trusted. My mom suggests giving them more and telling them why. Explain how they're growing up and you want to help them. Give them clear expectations and consequences, and don't take it personally when they fail. Failing is one of the best ways to learn, and you want them to learn to fail when you're still around to help them turn it into a learning opportunity. At 17, it's pretty scary. As my friend told me in our discussion after her interesting welcome, her sons had been model students, and then at 17, everything changed. She thought she was on the home stretch, and then she started wondering if she could trust them to go away to college the next year. She didn't think they were ready. At 17, kids are heading into adulthood. As adults, we know how scary adulthood can be. Okay, imagine if you don't know what it's all about and you're heading into that. Many of them feel totally unprepared. Even if they know what they want to do, they may not be sure how to do it. Those hormones are still raging and their brain is still developing, and they do stupid things. It's really hard as a parent to see it. But going back to 3 and 13, we can take what we learned and apply to 17. At 3, we had to give them grace and let them be little every once in a while without getting mad at them. At 17, sometimes they don't want to have the responsibilities of an adult. That's fine, but they don't get the privileges either. To help them through this stage, you can actively teach them how to be an adult. And while you do, validate their feelings and praise them for learning new things. For instance, have them cook dinner regularly so they know they can feed themselves. Another idea is to have them take personal finance classes so they know how to handle money. Dave Ramsey has a really good one for high schoolers. On the same vein, include them in budgeting decisions and talk to them about how you're making these decisions. Let them know about, the different bills and how you pay them and how you make ends meet, so that they'll know how to do it as an adult. My friend's boys survived 17 and were able to go to college the next year. She told me it was like a switch had flipped and they were normal again. I was so happy to hear it. I wish she had somebody to talk to about it, though. It would have made it easier for everyone involved, I'm sure. Not all kids go through these challenges right at these ages, and sometimes one kid is easier than another. But all of us can benefit from my mom's wisdom. Help your kids understand what's going on while they're developing. Don't take it personally, and also give them the opportunities they need to be successful at the next stage of development. It will make it easier for everyone involved. If you'd like more information about homeschooling, working with teens, or just about the Genius Paradigm, please visit my website and sign up for my newsletter. You can also follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Thanks, and have a great day.